Hello guys, it's Robbie here, and here I am with a breakdown of today's GU in London session because we had a possible entry opportunity just at the end of the session. As you can see, here is the setup. Here was the higher time frame zone mitigation and change of character, and here was the possible entry POI, but it didn't convince me because I was missing a base criteria, and I will talk about it later in this breakdown, in this recap. But yeah, I want to break down this possible entry opportunity right here, and I want to go through the whole criteria of this setup. So yeah, what happened on the 15-minute time frame, and technically what were the plans on the 15-minute time frame? Well, actually we can start with this 4-hour zone right here. So price reacted on a 4-hour supply area at this point, and from this point, from this high point right here, price has started a really slow pullback to the downside to this 15-minute demand area. This 15-minute demand area caused the breakout structure here with really nice volume candles, as you can see. And price has just mitigated this 15-minute demand. And inside of this 15-minute demand, there was a clear 5-minute refinement. Let me show you on the 5-minute time frame. Yeah, here it is. So here is the clear 5-minute refinement of this 15-minute demand area, and also this 5-minute refinement caused the breakout structure directly with really nice volume candles. And before the session, actually, yeah, just before the session, 20 minutes before the session, price has just reacted on this 15-minute / 5-minute demand area and reacted on it really nicely. As you can see, this is a really nice V-shaped reaction with a huge wick that has caused the sweep of this liquidity right here. There was some liquidity, and after the sweep of this liquidity right here, price has flipped the last recent 5-minute supply area. Let's take a look on the 5-minute supply. At this point, when I created the markups, I said that, and actually I draw a plan based on this 5-minute supply, but technically this 5-minute supply caused the breakout structure here directly, but this was the decision zone in this case, and we had an extreme zone of the whole movement on the 5-minute time frame. And this 5-minute extreme zone was the origin of the structure breaking movement, and also the origin of the movement that has caused the mitigation on this 15-minute and 5-minute demand area. And after the flip of this zone, we could look for longs. And as you can see, here was the reaction. Price has made a full zone mitigation, printed liquidity on the upside, and technically the whole upside right here was just pure liquidity pool. And also, if you take a look on the 15-minute time frame, technically this whole movement right here is just a really slow pullback to the downside, which equals as liquidity creation for the upcoming longs. And this is the reason why I was expecting longs, especially after this really nice reaction on this 15-minute demand area. So yeah, so after the flip happened on this extreme 5-minute supply area, also it was technically a 5-minute change of character, I have marked this 5-minute demand out, and I sent an update for this 5-minute demand area that if price creates liquidity for the 1-minute refinement inside of it, then technically we can try a risk entry on that 1-minute refinement, but also we can wait for confirmation entry on it on this 5-minute demand area that has caused the flip and the change of character too, and we can take longs up to this supply area. This 15-minute supply area had really nice liquidity below it, as you can see. And after the flip, technically price has just printed a perfect double tops right here. But in the bigger picture, this 15-minute supply area is not a really valuable one, and it is just part of this huge liquidity pool right here. And yeah, technically this movement is just a huge liquidity pool for the upcoming longs. So yeah, but for me, the final TP would be this 15-minute supply area just above the perfect liquidity, equal high liquidity. So yeah, so what happened after the mitigation happened on this zone? Well, the mitigation happened just 30 minutes before session close, but between so the flip of this supply, sorry. So the flip of this supply happened 1 hour after session open. So after session open, price was just ranging. This is just range. There wasn't a new breakout structure, and this was our last high point, last low point, sorry. So everything between this high and low point was only substructure. And this is why I was waiting for a mitigation of this 15-minute, 5-minute demand area, and where I was waiting for confirmation entry. I was waiting for confirmation entry because if we take a look on the 1-minute time frame, technically there wasn't clear liquidity for that demand area, so we couldn't really enter on this 1-minute refinement right here. And it's a little bit double-sided knife, a double-sided blade currently, because this low point was a middle of nowhere reversal, and every middle of nowhere reversal technically equals as liquidity. However, in this case, I would like to see some clearer, bigger liquidity pool. For example, double bottoms or trendline liquidity, for example, or triple bottoms in this case. And after this liquidity creation, if a bigger liquidity pool has been formed right here, then I would enter on this position. But at this point, after the mitigation, after the change of character here, this entry POI, for me, it had only 8 criteria. And here is the criteria for this setup. Let's count the criteria here. But here is the criteria table, as you can see. So the first one was the higher time frame zone mitigation. Price reacted on a 5-minute demand area that has caused a 5-minute change of character and the flip of the supply to perfect. Liquidity take higher time frame zone / entry zone. It was missing. There wasn't liquidity creation for me. The proper liquidity creation was missing for me for this higher time frame demand area, and also there wasn't any liquidity creation above the entry POI, so there wasn't any liquidity creation. So liquidity to take was a missing criteria for me, was a missing base criteria. And if a base criteria is missing, then it means that the entry zone is a no-go zone for me. And yeah, that's why I missed it. Actually, I did not miss it. Actually, that's why I decided to not execute a trade right here. All right, that was inefficiency, but we had all the other criteria technically. That was inefficiency. Here is the inefficient gap that has been made by the character changing movement after the 15-minute, 5-minute demand mitigation. We are clearly in a pro trend. 4 are extremely bullish. It barely made any pullback last week. And technically, after a 4-hour supply zone mitigation, price just really slowly approached the demand area, where price reacted really strongly, made a 5-minute change of character, and price has just returned back to this 5-minute zone where it has been confirmed on the 1-minute time frame. Technically, this movement happened on the chart. So yeah, we are clearly in a pro trend. There is no doubt about it. So that's why I counted the pro trend criteria. There was the change of character. Here was the last recent high point that has caused the last recent low point. And technically, we had a supply right here, where you can see price reacted with this candle. And technically, the flip happened from this zone right here, which has printed really nice inefficiency in this case. So here was our change of character, or we can call it as a flip too. Perfect. There was V-shaped recovery. I did count this one as a V-shaped recovery. It's not the most effective V-shape, but if we take a look on the 5-minute time frame, you can see that price immediately reacted after a 50% mitigation. And it's even clearer on the 3-minute time frame. And in this case, I did take a look on the 3-minute time frame too. And yeah, technically we can count this one as a V-shaped recovery because price reacted really nicely with volume candles after the mitigation of the higher time frame zone. So yeah, V-shape was there. There was really nice liquidity target on the upside. Here was the liquidity target. Technically price created perfect equal highs right here. But once again, if we take a look on the bigger picture, after this 4-hour supply zone mitigation, right here, price just made a really slow, choppy pullback to the downside. So actually, this whole movement is just a pure liquidity target for our longs. So yeah, let's continue with the criterias. But first, let me get back to the price section. All right, here we are. There was 50% mitigation on the higher time frame zone. There is no doubt about it. Price has just mitigated more than 50% of the full zone of the whole zone, and actually it mitigated the full zone in this case. Price wasn't coming from an opposite sided zone. It couldn't come from any opposite sided zone because this was the last recent low point, last recent high point. Everything between this high and low point was just substructure. There wasn't any opposite sided supply zone at all. This was the only opposite sided zone in this case, but it was really far away. And yeah, there was no supply mitigation right here. So price wasn't coming from opposite sided zone. Corrective pullbacks from pro movement. However, I did not count this criteria because if you take a look on the 15-minute time frame, we could count it, but at this price action, since the 4-hour supply zone mitigation happened, I did not count it because I considered this movement as a pullback to the downside, but there wasn't any difference between the bullish and bearish movement. So yeah, it could be counted. That criteria could be counted, but in this case, I did not count it, and it couldn't really be a game changer because base criteria was still missing for me. So even though if I counted this criteria, it would mean that I had 9, but 9 criteria is still not enough because I was missing a base criteria in this case. So yeah, but I did not count it. It wasn't that clear. So yeah, that's the reason I did not count it. And there wasn't combined liquidation. There wasn't combined liquidation at all. There wasn't liquidity for the higher time frame zone, and there wasn't liquidity for the entry POI. We have this criteria only if there is liquidity for the higher time frame zone and there is liquidity for the entry zone at the same time. If we have liquidity for both zones, for the higher time frame and for the entry zone, we can count this combined liquidation criteria. There wasn't, so it means we didn't have combined liquidation. So yeah, I had 8 criteria for this trade. It's not enough. So actually I need at least 9 criteria, but a base criteria is missing. So it means it was a no-go zone for me. And even though if there would be liquidity for the higher time frame zone, then I would use a full zone entry here with 3 pip stop loss. And as you can see, it would sweep me out with a really small wick. Technically, it would sweep me out with, yeah, with 0.2 pips. So yeah, that's all, guys. I really hope this recap will help you and it will be helpful for you. And technically, that's all, guys. Take care and see you guys tomorrow in London session. Bye.